She Said, He Said is sponsored by Times Media Company and Lee Enterprises. Our show is recorded each week at Creative Space Place Studios in Hobart, Indiana.
You're listening to She Said, He Said with Karen and Jerry Davidge, a potpourri of everything that has to do with relationships and the baggage that comes with it, because there's a lot to unpack. Welcome to She Said, He Said with Karen and Jerry Davidge. I'm Karen, and this is my husband, Jerry.
I'm Jerry. How are you doing? Welcome to today's show.
Thanks for tuning in.
We appreciate it.
Yes.
On today's show, we're going to dissect a date, kind of the anatomy of a date, because we've all had dates that went left, went sideways, went bad. You have the best of plans, and things just don't work out right.
Yeah.
I've had one, she's had one, you've had, we've all had that. But sometimes dates can happen organically, and they just blossom. You didn't expect it, and we're going to dissect exactly what happened on a recent date that we had that we didn't expect anything to go right. We really didn't, and it kind of turned out really well.
Yes, it did.
And we hope it, if you did it too, of course, we want to hear from yours as well.
Oh, yeah. We'd love to hear about really great dates and kind of lousy dates,
Yeah, we
too.
like to do
Those
the
are
lousy
fun.
dates, even more juicy, more gossipy for those. What it was is last week I was looking for a simple movie. I read a review in a newspaper story. Newspapers, yes. I read a newspaper movie review about a movie called Past Lives. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't know where it was playing, nothing at all. It just looked intriguing to me. It's about this couple from
Korea.
Initially from Korea, and then the woman in the lead character, she immigrated to New York City.
As a child. She and her family immigrated to the United States. They were 12 years old. The story is like every 12 years in this these two people's lives. And how they kind of every 12 years, they kind of came into each other's lives, and it culminated into a final scene. We don't want to give it away.
Can't give it away, Karen.
You might want to see it. It's a beautiful, quiet movie. Is that a good way to say it?
It is for sure. So I read this review, and part of the review said, since its debut at Sundance in January, Past Lives has accrued slow-rolling, deserved hype as the year's first great movie.
Yes.
First great movie. And I go, wow, this sounds just wonderful to see.
Yeah.
So I pull it up, doobity-doobity-doo,
Is it playing at the Cinemark in
Yeah, is it going to
Valpo,
be like somewhere in the region, somewhere close and handy? And no, it's
No,
not,
of
of
course not, no.
It's playing at the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema in the Wrigleyville section of Chicago.
And when we say the Wrigleyville section, we mean right across the street from Wrigley
From
Field.
Wrigley Field, yeah. So
Right across.
So I thought, I don't know, is it worth an hour and a half drive? And then you have the parking and you have everything else. And it's a kind of a whole day thing. It's a whole thing. So we didn't know if we should do it or not. So I finally did it because I thought, I really want to see this movie. It's kind of fun. We've never been to the cinema. Any excuse to go to Wrigleyville sounds great to me.
Well, hold on. You say we've never been to the cinema. We have. We've been to the
that
movies,
cinema.
that movie theater.
Yeah, Alamo Drafthouse Cinema in Wrigleyville. Never been there.
And that was quite an experience in itself.
Yeah, we can get back to that later. So either way, got the tickets online. Sounded great. We're going to make kind of a day of it.
Yeah.
Right? Trek into Wrigleyville, hang out, walk around, all that kind of good stuff. Feel the vibe. Then, the night before this happened,
we just happened to be watching the news.
and the news said, hey, don't come into town, especially don't come into Wrigleyville.
If you do, take public transit because
Dead & Company is coming to Wrigley Field that night. Second of two sold-out shows.
And they did an aerial shot, a live shot of Wrigley Field, and it was nothing but people.
Yeah, tie-dye, mass humanity for the Dead & Company show.
And we're like, wait a minute, isn't that movie theater like right across
right
the street
across
from
the
Wrigley
street.
Field?
So
Isn't
then
that
I'm thinking,
where we're going to be?
Do I cancel? Do I try to restructure the date? Do we go another weekend? What do we do? Turns out we just said, what the heck? Let's just make it work somehow. So we got parking instead of Wrigleyville because a parking spot was $200.
$200.
It was between $100 and $200 if you wanted to get a good spot.
And
or a spot.
So shout out to my brother Mitch. My brother Mitch knew that we were going to go, and just to help out, he says, hey, take the train, get on the red line, drops you right off there. And that's absolutely right. So people that are listening or watching, and you're yelling at your radio, you're yelling at your iPad, like, hey, dum-dums, take the train, drop off at the red line. But that's not how we do things.
Because I love to drive, and I don't care where the drive is. I don't care if it's Manhattan, San Francisco,
or Dallas,
L.A., Dallas, Chicago. Did not matter. I wanted to drive. So we drove. We parked in the Lincoln Park neighborhood of Chicago instead for that day.
Our favorite spot.
And then we relocated for later that night. point is, we make it into Lincoln Park, no problem at all. Got my
None.
favorite parking spot there. It's $20 at the side of a Target garage.
Yes, there's a
it's right by
Target there.
everything.
Yeah.
And then we just drove up north to Wrigleyville, a 20-minute drive, easy to get to.
Easy until you get to the heart of where we were supposed
Boom.
to be, which was they had barricaded.
Yeah, they closed the streets. They threw off my plans. They threw
Yeah.
off. They closed North Clark. They closed Belmont for a while. The police, that is. So we didn't know what to do, but we finally got there. We're driving around. There's deadheads everywhere. We needed a parking spot. We needed to at least get somewhere.
We needed to get
in that
to
parking
our
garage.
parking garage.
Yeah, right across the street from Wrigley.
Right. And
Literally.
we didn't know what we were going to do.
And how do we get there?
And we thought we drove past a gentleman who had a little sign saying $50 park here. Easy in and out, $50 park here.
Tempting.
Very tempting.
Tempting. Didn't do it though.
No,
because
we
I'm
didn't.
stubborn. Because I'm going to get the
Yes.
$10 parking spot that I was promised from the cinema place.
Yes. So as we were being, this gentleman was directing traffic. We were supposed
Yeah,
to
like a cop
turn
security
to our
guard right there in the intersection. Yeah.
Jerry says, "Yeah, I'm going to ask this guy to see if I can get through." I'm like, "There's no way he's going to let you through."
Yeah, and he didn't look really happy to.
No.
hear
Would
me.
you? Would you want to direct traffic at a Deadhead or Dead
Yeah.
and Company concert?
But I pulled right up to him in the car.
And you said, "I have tickets to the
Yeah, I gotta
Alamo
get to
Theater
it.
right there."
Right there.
Right there.
How can I get right there?
I need to get just there.
through all these people and barricades.
And miraculously, the officer said, "Oh, come on back." And he opened
Opened
up.
the barricade.
He opened the
let us
barricade.
in. We're driving down like
We were
Waveland.
driving.
Or-
There was just people everywhere, and you were driving like a
Yeah.
miles an
yeah, it was
hour.
ridiculous.
And I just thought, this is
I'm just creeping through.
this
It was
is
very
nuts.
surreal.
We're gonna hit somebody.
Yeah, and other cops are looking at us, going, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah, so that guy let us in, and I'll say this, I say this all the time, but you have nerves of steel and the patience of a saint, because I would have just balled up and I would have taken the train and dropped off at the red line.
challenge of driving. I love the drive.
So-
we found the cinema parking
But
garage.
we weren't sure if that was the right parking
No, we
garage.
didn't know because we don't know anything because we're idiots.
And because the
Karen
guy
and I are
says,
just
"Yeah,
the
that's just
stupidest
over
people.
here." So he just kind of like, "Yeah, throw it over there." So we're like, okay. So we just drove into the first parking garage we saw, and there was a sign, $100 straight, $100 to park in this
So
parking
that
garage.
I made a big mistake. I
We're
screwed
like,
up.
"Oh
We're going to
my
pay $100
gosh."
for
So our
parking.
hearts were just sunk. We're like, wow.
But we went in.
We just went, well, because we had no choice.
We had no choice. There's nowhere else to go. Everything is
the guy let us
barricaded.
in.
People are everywhere. It's a big mess.
So we're like, oh boy, what are we gonna do? We didn't even know where we were. We didn't, because we'd never been to this place.
But we
before.
parked. We got in, second floor, and then we saw the beam of light from heaven come down, and it said
The Alamo Drafthouse and Movie
Cinema.
Theater or
Yeah.
something like
so
that.
we knew we had the right garage. It worked out fine. But
Yes.
we had like 45 minutes to an hour to blow. So what we did, we walked outside after we parked and just soaked up this vibe of Wrigleyville for a Dead and Company show. And it was the coolest vibe.
It was.
I mean, we didn't want to go see the show. Like, not one part of us wanted to go inside
No.
Wrigley Field to see the show. But,
no. But
all of
kudos
us-
to you if you were there.
Yeah, if you're a deadhead.
If you're a
yeah,
deadhead, I'm
great
sure
for
they
you.
put on an excellent show.
And we know they did because we heard it.
Oh yeah, we did. We heard it. Yeah.
But either way, so we just soaked up this vibe, and it's this date night vibe that we didn't expect, didn't know it was going to be there. We walked around. We got caught up in the current of people
We really
walking down
did.
a closed down North Clark Street, just closed
Yes.
just for us, for people. And we got you just, everybody wants a ticket. Everybody's
Yeah,
looking for
we
a
were
ticket.
today years old when we realized if you want a ticket, you didn't get
Everybody.
it. Walk around like this.
Wants a
If
ticket.
you want 2 tickets, walk around like this.
And it
3
took me like
tickets?
4 minutes to have the best aroma on the planet that I think, and that's pot smell, of course, marijuana. I love it, love
Yeah,
it, love
it
it.
was everywhere.
Yeah, I love that. Was the best part of it. So we got to just walk around, soak up this deadhead vibe.
Yeah.
While they're all excited to see the concert, then they started streaming into the concert into
Yeah.
Wrigley Field. We streamed out, and then we saw this movie. So the movie's Past Lives. It's about this couple, like I said before, and their lives intersect. And the questions about it is, will their lives intersect again in this lifetime? Did they intersect in previous lifetimes? And would they intersect again in future lifetimes? And this was a painful kind of it wasn't like a rom-com.
No, it didn't have
No happy
your
ending,
typical ending.
all that.
Just
And
kind of left you like.
it was a
just kinda
thinker
thinking.
piece that
Yeah.
made you wonder about relationships and people and connections. And if you're
Or
together,
possible
a
misconnections.
lot of misconnections in our lives.
Right.
Is there someone in your life that you want to be in your life, but it just isn't happening? It can't happen. It won't happen. Well, that's what happened in the movie, and they're hoping it may happen in a future lifetime
future
of some
life.
kind. And there's a saying is inyen. For Korean, and what it means is that connectedness of coming back and being with someone.
Yeah.
Two souls, two people intersecting again and again. Could be 8,000 times in a lifetime. I mean, in
Exactly.
an existence or not.
Yes.
So we watched the movie and at this Alamo Drafthouse Cinema. Amazing. It was the best experience
so cool.
we
You
ever
have
had.
to go.
Yeah, you have tables in front of you. They come down like ninja servers come down and ask you exactly what you want. You have a menu. You can get entrees. You can get food, drinks, popcorn.
The chairs recline.
We had the best shakes. It was
Cookies.
It was an amazing experience. Even
I had coffee.
Yeah, even if you saw a movie from the 1940s, you don't even care about just the experience of watching the movie.
It was
there.
very fun.
It was all for adults, pretty much adults only, which is a nice facet. There's no kids running around.
Yeah, and it has a very strong 80s motif I think that's their whole thing because they had a Ferris Bueller's photo op,
display there.
Display there, and a couple of others. Like you could even rent DVDs there, and I don't know if they did,
and it had a bar. It had everything.
It had everything. It was very cool. It was a great experience.
We highly suggest this
and
experience.
Don't go. I would suggest to look ahead and make sure that there's no concert or games going on at Wrigley Field.
Nah, that's the whole point of this podcast. That added to the whole night.
All right. Well, make sure
the point is to not make sure of anything. The point I think of this podcast is organic dates that just start off small, not knowing what you're going to do, and they just blossom. And you have to run with it. You have to flow with it, like a current.
Well,
you can't
a lot
plan.
of people can't do that. A lot of people cannot
Well, we didn't
go with
plan
the flow.
this. We didn't want this to happen. We just kind of got stuck in the flow, and we just rolled with it.
True.
We could have complained about the deadheads, and I hate the smell of pot, and I don't want to see any more tie-dye, and I don't have a ticket. Get out of my head. It was none of that. We just took the flow. That's the point, I think, of this podcast, is that there's organic dates. You can make it happen if you just kind of allow it to happen.
Oh.
Because we kind of allowed that day to happen. We didn't really plan on anything.
No.
It happened to us.
Yeah, the only thing we planned on was the movie.
Just the movie, and I thought it'd be like in Valparaiso. So I didn't want to go out of my own city because I'm so lazy. But everything snowballed from there, and that is the anatomy of a date. If you can allow this to happen, to have a flow in a way. And tying back to the movie, Past Lives, by the way, it's going to be a limited run. It could be, what, can it be for an Oscar? Can that kind of a movie?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Some kind of awards, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
sure
right.
could.
It's usually the kind of movie that we never see, and we go, we should see that after it gets all these awards, and we never do.
I know, right? After we watch the Academy Awards, we should see
more movies. We don't get out enough. So we got out for this. You can get out for this as well. The movie, though, is about fate is not viewed as a predetermined pathway, but more as intertwined concept. And this is the Inyan, the word for it. That the simple choices we make all are predicated on countless pathways taken before. And that's like the pathway of a date. Like you have the best of dates. And I know, we've had dates before our previous lifetimes that went horrible.
Yes.
But it looks good on paper, right?
Yes.
Looks really good on paper. You can do
Right.
this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we have a check thing. And then it all just snowballs and it doesn't pan out at all.
No.
But this kind of organic date, we'll call it,
Yeah.
it can happen if you just allow it to happen. And we didn't know that.
No.
We didn't plan on it.
No.
And it all just snowballed.
It did.
And we could thank the Dead and Company. We could thank Deadheads. We could thank Wrigleyville. We could thank this cinema that we didn't even know existed.
And thank the gentleman that led us through the barricade.
And especially the security guard cop who led us through the barricade to let this happen, or else we'd be stuck again.
Yes.
Exactly,
Yeah. But if you allow things to happen and you take it with a little bit of humor, then you'd be surprised of how well your day will go.
And then the rest of the evening. So we saw the movie, the thinker piece. We had the best shakes. I had some kind of salt caramel shake, whatever I had in my life before I had that too. We got dumped out back again on North Clark. The Dead is still, the Dead and Company is still playing.
The
of
crowds
course,
weren't as
probably their fourth encore. Who knows? People are still
Yeah.
hanging outside.
Oh, yeah.
We still got to soak up the vibe as long as we can. We call it squeezing an orange. You got to kind of squeeze that orange dry as much as you can until we actually had to bail out of the city. We had to leave before
Oh, yeah, we didn't want to
exodus of
be
Wrigley
caught
Field.
again, so we got out of there.
And it also, the movie got us thinking about couples. And couples who are together now, couples who are together maybe earlier in their life, couples who want to get back together when they're older, and all the possibilities of couplehood. So we thought we had to share the experience on the podcast, not only because the organic date, but about couples and how they reconnect and connect. And some couples don't stay together, and some don't meet again, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or some just kind of get reconnected.
Weren't you disappointed, I'll bet, a little bit at the end of the movie because you thought they were going to embrace,
Yes.
kiss?
There was one at the very end of the movie. You thought it was going to end in the typical Hollywood fashion,
Exactly.
and it didn't.
And I love that
And
facet
you're like,
of
my
it.
God, that's
real.
that is real.
That's
it was
how-
a very real movie, and it just made you think. And I remember one of the reviews said it was hopeful. Would you say it was hopeful?
Maybe it's hopeful for the big picture, for
Yeah, that's
multiple
true.
lifetimes. Yeah, that you can reconnect with someone possibly in this Indian.
Yeah, we always say that. We did
phenomenon.
this on a previous show that we made fun of, like, if we met in past lives.
Every time I had syphilis, she said.
Yeah, well,
every time we met in a previous life, I died of syphilis.
I always said that, you know, in all these past lives that Jerry was alone, but he wasn't lonely. And so, but
I'm
one
a
of the
loner.
things, but I always say we had to have crossed paths before we ever met. Because, I mean...
Yeah, do you believe in this theory? I don't know. I mean, we want to believe in this concept.
What's that?
The concept of previous lifetimes, reincarnation, being together in previous lifetimes and reconnecting. Like they said in the movie, maybe one of them was a bird, one was a branch.
Yes.
Right? Or
one,
maybe...
One was a king and the other was...
Yeah.
Something or other.
Yeah,
I don't
could be
remember.
a peasant, or who were we in previous incarnations of our lives? And I don't know.
Or I'd like
we
to
want to
think
believe that, but do we?
I always like to say that our paths crossed before we met, but we were in the same airspace. Case in point, back in like 90, I think, Jane's Addiction was playing at the Aragon Ballroom, and we happened to be at that same show.
Didn't know each other.
Didn't know each other. But I always think to myself, if we just kind of brushed up against each other, we're like, ooh, excuse me. Sorry.
That was in the movie.
Yeah,
Past lives.
like if
It's
we just
Indian.
like you just brushed
a
up.
brush,
if I
right.
accidentally brushed up against Jerry, didn't know him, but then I felt something from this stranger.
Well, if she brushed up against a nerd in the mosh pit who was getting abused and throwing a chair thrown at him, that was me.
You were in the mosh pit?
I was.
Were you really?
I was.
You never told me that.
Well, I did
You
now.
were in the...
Yeah, and they had chairs were flying. I remember because when things settled down for Jane's Addiction, they played Jane Says.
Yes,
that was the most mellowest song that Jane's Addiction had in the repertoire. Then everything settled down. I went, what am I doing here? I remember looking around. They brought out a bongo on stage, if you remember. And they're playing a slow bongo for that song, I think. Everything slowed down. And I go, I can't believe I'm in this situation. I look back at my friend Mark, and he's back, way in the way back, looking at me, thinking, what are you doing? And I didn't realize, I got swept up. It's like that date thing. You get swept up into something. A current of people, a current of enthusiasm, current of energy.
Wow.
I got swept up into that mosh pit of Jane's Addiction, and I didn't expect to be there.
Did you get hurt?
No. I got scared because I'm a big weenie. I got well, not scared like for my life, but I go, oh my God, I can't believe this. It was dangerous. You know what I mean?
People I can't believe you did that.
I didn't either. That's my point.
I was today years old when I realized he was in the mosh pit that night. I was way up in the balcony.
That's the point also about this episode of the podcast, that you get swept up into these things, and you have to let the current take you where it takes you.
Oh, yes, gosh.
So we were both at that Jane's Addiction show. We didn't know each other.
No.
We may have brushed, may have not. Same airspace. We have no idea.
Exactly.
But it could have mattered.
Well, it reminds me of that saying. I think it was Maya Angelou that said it. Instead of thinking how everything will go wrong, think of how everything will go right.
Yeah, do you do that?
No,
I'm trying. She does not do
I'm
that.
really trying to embrace that.
Garen has a penchant for envisioning all the worst case scenarios of every situation possible,
because
and then crossing it off her
worse
list when it
things
doesn't
have
happen.
happened to me, so you kind of like, well.
And all it takes is like one or two worst things to happen in your life, and then you're fearful of it again and again.
I know.
Like with dates.
Like with dates.
Yeah, dates going bad, dates going good.
We'll just always think about this could go very right. You know.
We're going to circle back. Last thing about this segment is that all started this whole blossoming of an organic date and allowing things to happen and meeting all these cool people and experiencing this and also getting maybe a contact high outside of Wrigley, which we love too.
Yeah.
It all started with a newspaper story.
Yeah, so read your newspapers.
I read a newspaper story and it just suggested this movie review. Next thing you know, here we are.
Yes, exactly.
Let us know if you have
we would love an experience like that. If you
let us know.
A date turned out way better than it ever expected. Or way worse.
We really want the latter. Yeah. If not, for sure, let us know for sure about that. We'll have you on the show.
For sure. So today was a very sad day. It's June. It's June 13th. And today we said goodbye to...
Not a person, don't worry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, not a person. No. But my car. It was a Hyundai Tucson. I bought my Tucson brand new in 2005.
2005. That sounds so long ago.
She had 170,000 miles on her.
Which is nothing.
Yeah. And we had to say goodbye to her today. She she had a battery we could not resuscitate. Her brakes were sponges, and one of them barely worked. And
Just one of them barely worked.
And her insides were really rusted out.
She crossed the not the
The
Rainbow
rusted
Bridge,
bridge.
the rusted
She
bridge.
crossed the rusted bridge, but man, she was the best. We taught Bob and Sarah to drive on that car. It was a perfect car for both of them. It once was Bobby's car. He solely took it to school. Then when he went off to college, it was solely Sarah's car. She took it to school. It never got into a major accident at all, just one minor fender bender and one where I backed out of the garage and I knocked the mirror off. But other than that...
Took us in Chicago dozens of times, took us on the East Coast.
It took us to Virginia. It took us to Tennessee,
Indianapolis.
Wisconsin.
All these spots, and we kind of forget a family car, a family vehicle matters.
Yeah, it does.
People, we get close to it. We have an affinity for it. It's
We
our
do.
car. It's your car. It's a family car.
Sarah and her friends,
all
Bob
the
and his
memories
friends.
in it.
All the
The messes
Sarah
in it.
spilled a whole can of root beer in the back seat.
And there's
just
still
to name a few.
There's still probably sand in that car from
all the many beach.
Yeah, all the different many beaches from all.
visits,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. And that's what cars mean to us, mean to families. And we thought we would recognize that on She Said, He Said,
Yeah.
that family dynamics come with family stuff we own. And what's the bigger stuff next to a house than a car?
Yeah, you think of the road trips and
It's
all the
always the same
singing
car.
and
DVD players in the back that went down.
we
had
did
that.
Yes, I remember
Yeah.
that
And
yeah.
telling kids in the back, be quiet, we're not there yet. Or
Oh, I know,
shut up,
yeah.
stop fighting.
Yeah, we'll stop.
Stop
We gotta
fighting.
or it was just a great car.
It's like
It
a
was-
mini home on wheels.
It
It's the
really
same
was.
dynamics get transported from a house to a car, and those same dynamics between people, relationships, couples, kids,
Yeah.
fighting, bickering,
Oh.
singing together,
Yes.
joining people together,
Learning
eating
to-
together,
learning to drive.
having meals together. It's much more important than we think, and we wanted to
is.
recognize that on the show, and I'm going to write a column about it as well.
I know we're not alone. I know there's people out there that have had their cars many years, and it means a lot to them. And so she just done good by us.
And it was on life support for several months.
Oh, it really was.
We didn't know how to drive. We were worried about driving it. We were warned by a mechanic, don't drive it.
Don't. Yes.
It's dangerous to drive. So we said, okay. Then we didn't know what to do with it. It sat on our curb way too long, many months.
Yes.
And finally we pulled the trigger, so to speak, and that doesn't sound nice, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I gave it one last hug. I hugged the
Today,
steering
literally
wheel.
today, she did.
There's this little mermaid sticker that Sarah stuck on the dash many years ago. It was still there.
Still there. There's still gum stuck in the ashtray.
There's still a candy bar that melted that we couldn't
In the-
really scrape out. That's
the map
in the
holder
car.
arm. Yeah, right. These are what these vehicles
in the car
represent
door.
to us.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. But there was no rips in the upholstery.
Yeah, there's the upside.
Just a lot of stains.
And it's going straight to the what? He said that.
Oh, the
Alex said?
crusher.
Straight to the crusher.
But not until some of her parts will be used for other cars. So her tires are still good, so she will live on in other cars.
Like organ donation for people.
You could say that.
Yeah, we're gonna. The Tucson will live on with other vehicles.
Yeah, and she will live on.
And we know you've lost a vehicle like that as well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a natural aging thing. Loss of the family member. Karen
is.
has a little bit of melancholy to her.
I
You
do.
can
I mean,
kinda
I
tell,
just that
yeah.
car has been with us for so long. She never got a name. We usually name all our cars.
Yeah, my car's Betsy.
My car's Stubbs. But Tucson, it was just the Tucson. Tucson never got a name.
Boo.
I know. I don't know why we never named her. But she was with me when I was a single mom and having to truck my kids everywhere. And we took it to the drive-in and we just shoved it
Everywhere. Everything.
That was my car.
My car should have died first. It's Betsy. It's a 2004 Chevy Monte Carlo with 307,000 miles.
300,000 miles.
It's still creeping along, but I don't want to
She's
give it
doing
up
all
yet.
right, yeah.
So if you have a family car that you lost, and it's gone, we want to hear about
Yeah,
it.
we do. Share it with us.
Yeah.
Jerry, what's your rant of the week this week?
Man, I have like one every day. This week, okay, we had a problem getting parking in Chicago. It's a big deal. And you're just getting any kind of parking spot in Chicago.
It's
a thing, right? Every
Whoa,
time. And
yeah.
we had an exceptionally hard time this past weekend for a concert
Yeah.
that we were there, a show, movie, that kind of stuff. So I get back home, we're in Valparaiso, and I'm trying to get a parking spot to like a store a couple days ago and also today at the gym. And there's people circling around to get a parking spot close to the entrance. They're fine. They're no disabled plates. They're fine. Weather's fine. It's all fine. They're just What's wrong with people who keep circling around to get a little bit of closer spot? Just walk 10 extra feet.
Well, I think it's funny when they try to
Walk
get a closer spot at the
gym.
gym.
You're going to a gym to work
Come
out.
on.
And they're circling to get closer to the entrance.
You got to warm up those muscles.
What
Park
are you
far away.
doing? Just park far away. Anyway, people who do that, they annoy the hell out of me. I don't understand it. I mean, I understand if they come out and they're limping, you have a problem, you have a disability. Maybe I get all that, but
Yes.
when you just jump out of the car and you're fine and you wait and people who wait are even worse than people who circle. They
Yes.
wait for a spot, like for 7 minutes or whatever it is. They'll wait for a car to leave a spot that's 3 spaces closer to the entranceway. Come on.
Come on.
Park in
You can do
Siberia, park in the
better.
remote section, walk an extra 10 feet,
You can
20,
do that. That's what you're
whatever it
young
is.
and able and strong. You're going to work out.
Boy, I tell you. And it all got compounded today when I was at the gym and I saw somebody circling around twice. And I think they're waiting for me to leave, and I was sending a text and I couldn't do it.
Oh.
I was like, get out of here. Just
What
go
would you
park."
do if they honked their horn at
Oh,
you?
my God. I don't honk. I don't know. I'm not a car honker. I rarely honk. I think I've honked, twice in our
Yeah, no
relationship
kidding. But what if
existence.
they're honking at you?
Yeah, I know,
Like
I don't know.
come on.
Yeah, I don't
Dad,
know.
let's go.
Then I would send extra texts. I would not. I would not leave for
Then
sure.
you start watching YouTube
I
and
would,
TikToks.
yeah, I would send a post. I would be there an extra 7 minutes again.
Yeah,
I would
of
not do
course.
that. So that's my rant of the week, folks. Get out there and
Stay tuned to see what he says next week.
something pissy, I'm sure. All right, hey, we appreciate you tuning into our show.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
been She Said, He Said with Karen and Jerry. We'd appreciate if you watch us at NWI.com,
And take a listen to us on Spotify, iHeart, Google.
Apple, Odyssey,
Yeah, we're there.
and Omni.
And Omni. And yeah, drop us a line on Facebook. And he's
Anytime.
on Twitter and LinkedIn. I'm on
Instagram,
Instagram. He's
yeah,
on
right.
Instagram. If you know us personally, send us a text. Give us some feedback, or give us some topic ideas. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
We appreciate it. Have a great week.
Okay. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to She Said, He Said with Karen and Jerry Davich, sponsored by Times Media Company and Lee Enterprises, and recorded at Creative Space in downtown Hobart. Find us at NWI.com and where you find all your podcasts.
If you enjoy our show, we hope you return with your own viewpoints about couples, relationships, and the subtle or not so subtle differences between spouses, mates, partners, and potential partners. We welcome your opinions, your experiences, and especially your love lessons.